Il professor Bassetti si scusa e per motivi organizzativi non è potuto essere presente ed è sostituito dal dottor Vena, che è un suo collaboratore. Diamo inizio alla sessione invitando il professor Messica. Il professor Messica è del Dipartimento of ICU di Colombe, France, and he will present a talk on oropharyngeal colonization. Does it matter in the ICU? Colonizzazione orofaringea ha importanza in terapia intensiva. Thank you very much, please.
Thanks to you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the organizing committee for this invitation. And it's a pleasure to have this talk about oropharyngeal colonization. Does it matter in the ICU? Well, I have one conflict of interest with Fischer and Peckel, but my main conflict of interest is with E. coli because it's one of my main topics. Well, we all know that VAP is highly linked to oropharyngeal colonization. It's known since 1972, the first paper I've found, in various populations, either in ICU population, general ICU populations, or in neurocritical care. And that's true with all kinds of pathogens. That's an old paper, nearly more than 20 years ago, where the authors made pulse field gel electrophoresis to ascertain the link between oropharyngeal colonization and pneumonia. And as you can see, the same DNA profile was found in nearly half of the episodes between VAP and oropharyngeal colonization. And this was true for many pathogens, all kinds of pathogens, but mostly gram-negative bacteria. So, oropharyngeal colonization, does it really matter in the ICU? In my point of view, yes, no doubt. The real question is, how can we reduce oropharyngeal colonization to avoid pneumonia? I will overview a few therapies to reduce oropharyngeal colonization: antimicrobial peptides, chlorhexidine, and proanthocyanidins. Antimicrobial peptide, the one that's been tested is iseganon, which is a synthetic protegrin analog with a broad spectrum in vitro activity against gram-positive, gram-negative, and yeasts. The trial that assessed iseganon was published in the Blue Journal, and it allocated to iseganon or placebo 725 intubated ICU patients. This study was prematurely terminated for an excess of mortality in iseganon-treated patients. There was no difference in VAP occurrence, no difference, finally, in mortality. So, iseganon research is now stopped out since then. Chlorhexidine. Chlorhexidine, as you may know, is a cationic antimicrobial molecule. It alters the bacterial cell wall. It helps to precipitate the cytoplasmic content, and it has, too, a broad antimicrobial activity, better on gram-positive than in gram-negative. It's widely used, either in the US or in Europe, as attested by these surveys. But many studies have been done, and results are conflicting in the meta-analysis. Either they found no effect in VAP prevention, or it was effective in VAP prevention but not on mortality, or effective in VAP when it was highly concentrated, or effective in VAP but in specific populations. So what shall we do? What shall we say? We're going to review all these points. The first meta-analysis that found no effect in pneumonia is the one by Pineda. There was no significant effect in favor of chlorhexidine, no significant effect on mortality, but it was a small meta-analysis with mixed populations and with mixed patterns of treatment, either 0.2 or 0.12% chlorhexidine, either 2 or 3 times a day. The newest meta-analysis in the Cochrane database gathered 38 RCTs, 18 of those who were with chlorhexidine. And it found a significant effect in preventing pneumonia in these patients. But this effect was not followed neither by a reduction of mortality nor a reduction of duration of mechanical ventilation nor a duration of ICU stay. Maybe it's because we don't use, chlorhexidine was not sufficiently concentrated. In this meta-analysis, the author found an overall effect in favor of chlorhexidine. Nevertheless, when studying only chlorhexidine with 0.12% concentration, the effect was no longer significant. Neither was it with 0.2%, but it was significantly reduced. The risk was significantly reduced when using a 2% chlorhexidine concentration. What about the different populations? The meta-analysis by Klompas showed a significant decreased risk in ventilator-associated pneumonia in cardiac surgery patients, but a non-significant reduction in non-cardiac surgery patients. No effect on mortality on cardiac surgery, and even more, a non-significant increased risk of death in non-cardiac surgery patients. The latest study comes from Marseille in surgery. It's in lung surgery. The authors, maybe Mr. Papazian will talk about it later, but patients received a mouthwash and a nasopharyngeal wash versus placebo. In this study, there was no significant difference in postoperative ventilation, respiratory infections, in-hospital mortality, but they found a significant reduction of non-respiratory infections, bacteremia, surgical sites infection, and Staphylococcus aureus infections. Furthermore, chlorhexidine mouthwash has drawbacks, either clinical or microbiological. I don't know if you remember this letter in Intensive Care Medicine 2 years ago. It was about a cluster randomized trial who tested standard chlorhexidine versus highly concentrated 2% chlorhexidine or selective oral decontamination or selective digestive decontamination. 2,700 patients were planned. And the steering committee urged to replace chlorhexidine 2% by a 1% concentration because of oral mucosal lesions that you can see in the electronic supplementary material of the paper. So, in conclusion of this paper, the author recommend against the use of 2% chlorhexidine in ICU patients. In a microbiological perspective, our colleague Béatrice Lacombe studied ICU ventilated patients for more than 48 hours in our unit. She included patients that had baseline burden of oropharyngeal colonization and no oropharyngeal comorbid condition. While the patients were screened at baseline, they had a single chlorhexidine mouthwash, 0.12%, and at each time point, we assessed bacterial growth, chlorhexidine minimally inhibitory concentration of the dominant pathogen, and salivary chlorhexidine dosage. That's the flowchart of the study. You see that 30 patients were studied, 10 were assessed for the salivary dosage. And as you see, there was no significant change in bacterial inoculum across time. Whatever the pathogen considered was, irrespectively of the pathogen considered, even pathogens that were sensitive, like streptococci, who had low MIC and who stays at the same level all time long. And the chlorhexidine dosage showed there was a rapid drop in chlorhexidine salivary concentrations as soon as 1 hour. In a second study, she tested the chlorhexidine susceptibility of E. coli to isolated from pneumonia, clinical isolates from VAP. It was a multi-center study, 14 French ICUs. She assessed the bacterial growth in a 2 milligram per liter chlorhexidine medium, and she assessed their maximal growth rate, that's a proxy for the chlorhexidine resistance, and the antibiotic resistance score. As you can see, nearly more than a quarter of E. coli were deemed resistant to chlorhexidine. And this resistance to chlorhexidine was significantly correlated with antimicrobial resistance. So shall we end it with chlorhexidine? It's poorly tolerated, it has low in vivo concentrations, and bacteria who are becoming more and more resistant are resistant to chlorhexidine. Well, not sure. It has some efficacy in some populations, and it's part of the multifaceted prevention measures of VAP. Maybe we should think about optimizing its delivery. The last therapy I'd like to discuss are proanthocyanidins. Proanthocyanidins are found in cranberry, but also in blueberry. Their effect has been shown to avoid, to diminish urothelial adhesion of E. coli. And it has, in a second paper, it reduced the in vitro adhesion versus placebo. And when E. coli was pre-grown in a proanthocyanidin solution, its killing ability was reduced in a worm model. Dimitri Margetis, in our unit, tested it. He tested in vitro growth of E. coli, ex vivo adhesion to human buccal cells, and in vivo pneumonia mice model. As you see here, there is a significant association between chlorhexidine resistance and proanthocyanidin resistance and the proanthocyanidin concentration. There is, as you can see here, a significant reduction of E. coli adhesion to buccal cells when the buccal cells are pre-treated with proanthocyanidin. When they are not pre-treated, here are all the E. coli that are adherent to the cells. In the pneumonia mice model, we tested a highly virulent isolate, clinical isolate, and it was grown with or without proanthocyanidin. And as you see here, the E. coli grown with proanthocyanidin was killed less the mice. And that is shown by an histologic, in a lung histology, where the proanthocyanidin pre-treated E. coli gives less alveolar damage than when not pre-treated. Other bacteria has been assessed, and I'm very grateful to Jean-Damien Ricard who lent me his slides. As you see, it has an effect with Enterobacter cloacae, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Klebsiella pneumoniae 2, and even a Staphylococcus aureus strain. So what's next for proanthocyanidin? I think it's now time for trials and to go further on. To summarize, I'm sure oropharyngeal colonization does matter in ICU patients, and you surely know that. Certainly in other populations too, maybe in surgical patients. Therapies, nevertheless, are to be optimized. We shall better define oropharyngeal colonization dynamics in the ICU, maybe find the best patient, the best dose formulation to a tailored administration for chlorhexidine. And for proanthocyanidine, the patent is pending, and it's now time to go from lab to bedside. And remember that oropharyngeal colonization, it's only one facet of VAP pathogenesis, so it's only one facet of its prevention. Thank you for your attention.
You conclude with this: necessary to tailor the approach in your clinical practice. What will...
Well, we have a wide admitted clinical practice. Patients, even though we saw that with Beatrice Lacombe's work, that chlorhexidine is not the holy grail, we go on with 4 to 6 mouthwash with 0.12 chlorhexidine mouthwash per day. But for the moment, as I said, it's only one facet. We have done much better in the, 10 years ago when with all the works in prevention of VAP by Drakulovic and so on, in many other measures. So, as I said, for the moment, I think we should investigate the factors that are linked to a better prevention.
Avete altre domande, commenti? Thank you very much.